Let me say salutations to one and all, and a very special, blessed good evening to you. And thank you all for joining me live here on YouTube on the Gman Music Network. The network where we talk business, we talk blessings, and we talk legacy. It's not just about music, it's my network. And you know what? The guests I've had so far have earned their right to sit down in the chair they do and have a conversation with me. And it gives me great pleasure to welcome to tonight's edition of In Conversation one of Birmingham's stalwarts. And I'm going to say stalwarts because I met this man nearly 20 years ago, but I've probably known him when he was little than that, yeah? And he has gone from strength to strength to strength. And I'm not going to talk no more. I want to say I am so blessed to have joined me this evening, the one and only Nathan Dennis. Nathan. Hey, brother.
Hello, Mr. Gman.
Thank you. Absolutely. I feel, you know what? I actually just felt a little, I had to, obviously, people won't know, but behind the scenes, we just had to bless the day, didn't we? We had to do a little blessing to start the things right. But Nathan,
Definitely.
thank you for giving up time out of your very, very, very busy schedule to have a quick chat in conversation with me live here on the network. Just to give the folks a little insight into why you're sat there in that screen there. Yeah, I practiced that. See, look. Yeah. You've earned it. I just want to say you've earned it. There's nothing else I'm going to say, but you've earned it. And I want to let the listeners know and the viewers know exactly how this has come to pass. Many, many years ago, many moons ago, you guys would probably be aware of it, that I was instrumental in getting a breakfast show up and running on New Style Radio. And I came across a wide-eyed young gentleman. He had so much drive and tenacity. He said, look, I'm getting a project going and I want to be interviewed on your show. I goes, what's your project called? Listen, Gman, don't worry about it. First Class Youth Network. I want to do this. And I tell you what, ladies and gents, if I think my son is 20, so 20 about 20 years, 19, how long has it been? About 19, 20 years, something like that? Mm-hmm. Probably less so, but within that region. And
this year's 20 years.
Yeah, this guy here, him, has been my brother ever since. And I can't not let him go. And ladies and gents, if you've heard of First Class Youth Network, it has had so many offshoots, so many variations, so many, and it's given birth to so many artists. I'm going to go back there. Yep. So many leaders, enhanced leadership across the community, and I've watched Nathan grow from strength to strength within his faith also. So, when you say God bless him, that is a God bless man there. Right?
Oh, bless you.
So, Nathan, I just want to open the floor to you now and say welcome. And I know you're going to say God, right? Your driving force from when we met 20 years ago that kept you on the same path you are on now, to be an entrepreneur, to be a leader, to be a minister, to be a developer, to be a husband, to be a father, to be a soothsayer, because people could call you when they were down. You had that open line. I know everything you did. I have it written in a book. Mm-hmm. You're going to be in my book. I'm going to write a book. Yeah? What's your driving force? What kept you going? What is it? Tell me. What is it? What was the driving force?
Sometimes it's very cliche to say God, but it really has been God. Wow. But one of the things that two of my favorite quotes are, Mark Twain says, the two most important days in your life are the day you're born and the day you find out why. And then Gandhi says, be the change you want to see in this world. And growing up in Birmingham, inner city Birmingham, I've just seen so many things that just caused me great pain. So some of the stuff have been like, when I first started around trying to reduce youth violence, in the community and improve mental health was that I was just sick to death of just like the amount of young people, young men from our community going into the criminal justice system. Then when I started to see and experience how mental health was destroying our black men, and then when I started to really realize and see just through driving around certain inner city areas of Birmingham and just feeling like there was many members from my community, our community, that wasn't living a purpose-filled life. And for me, that has been my driver, just trying to connect people to purpose, trying to connect people to opportunities, trying to be the change I want to see. So when I reflect and think, wow, 20 years has gone, it's mind blowing because change and transformation for me happened actually when my daughter was born. And I was just like trying to say to myself, I want to I want to be different. I don't want to be like some of them examples of men that I seen in the community. And through my daughter's birth and before she was getting christened, decided to visit a local church. And I wasn't really thinking about faith. I was more kind of like man's a rasta in my head. But then I was exposed to the gospel message of Jesus Christ, and that had a significant impact on my life. And it was through like developing a personal relationship with Christ that really this sense of purpose was birthed, and that's how First Class got birthed in terms of the youth and community work that we do and have been doing for literally this year, 20 years in the city and beyond.
I'm just so blessed that I was part of that journey in the very beginning, and I'm still part of the
Yeah.
journey. I'm still part of the journey. Yeah, I'm still
It's
part of it.
magic. I
Yeah,
don't know if you
yeah,
remember, G, when I tagged you in a post.
yeah.
I can't remember how long ago, but like it's interesting because I get booked as a host all the time now
Yep.
for events and stuff like that. So I do a lot of stuff within public sector around NHS and city councils and stuff like that.
Yep.
And I get booked to speak
Yep.
and to host. And
Yep.
it's funny because when I first started off, you was the host I used to book. And
Exactly.
the only person outside of you I used was Terry Wallen.
Yep. That's a true
And
story.
you guys, the energy, you knew how to engage the crowd. And it's very rare where you can find someone that kind of understands the skill of edutainment, because sometimes I feel like hosts are too go on with too much foolishness and don't have the education part. But one thing that's always been amazing about you, G, is that you've always had that education. You know when to get serious, you know to bring in humor, and just keep people engaged on that kind of like roller coaster of like you get them high, then you go deep and you go back high to keep the crowd engaged. And I learned that off you, and it's amazing that I do that now.
Do you know what? I'm going to tell you when I was in awe. I've obviously, our paths of life may take different roads, but they always intertwine somewhere along the line because that's how blessings
Yeah.
work. And I was at my vocation, I shall leave it there, yeah?
Mm.
And they said to me, oh, one of our champion speakers is Mr. Nathan Days. And then Nathan walked in with the brightest jacket, I never forget, yeah, and his Stetson hat, I call it. And when he walked in, I go, gee, look at him. And I'm gonna this honest truth, yeah, yeah. And they said, Imbosi like you. And then when you went on the stage and one thing you were talking, I don't remember, it was I can't remember what the
That was
event
the
was.
NHS awards event.
Yes, and then you,
NHS staff awards event.
that's
Yeah.
it, that's it, yeah, yeah, yeah. And it was. I looked at him. I go, look at that. Two decades have passed. Now I'm stood here in awe, and I'm saying
Wow.
this publicly, in awe
Wow.
of the greater man this man has become. So I'm not going to
Wow.
say the man has become, because he's always been a man, but the greater
Mhm.
man he has become. And
Wow.
I find, Nathan, in life, you and
Mhm.
I are Marmite. Yeah?
Yeah.
People will taste
100%.
me. You don't like me? Put on the buckle. Because maybe
Yeah.
how what we do and our flair, we're Marmite to some and sugar to
A
some.
lot
You
of
get
people,
me?
to be honest, like,
Yeah.
and
And
that's
look, it's
something.
incredible to watch your journey. It's incredible.
Yeah, no, thank you, man. I appreciate the flowers because, and one of the things I think I was alluding to in preparing for this
Mm.
is that I actually would like to sit in the Gman therapist chair, even though you're not a registered therapist,
Yeah.
because I do want to talk about like some of that behind the scenes stuff. So what I want to actually do is like I want to talk about some of my highlights.
Please, this is your
The
floor.
last,
This is
say
your
in the last
video
5 years,
biography.
yeah, and I think what will be good is because if I say some of the highlights and then we go through some of the challenges,
I want
I
to do that.
think it will make the challenges just more profound for anyone that's listening. So let's just look at, let's say, a snapshot of within the last 5 years and what happened recently this year. Me and my wife, who have been married to for 19 years this year. Yeah, it's all important, the numbers. Our oldest is going to be 21 in a few weeks' time. Happily married, I would say. We've just finished co-authoring a book and we've printed it, and we had the opportunity where we was invited to America to do a marriage retreat and speak at this marriage retreat, and we printed copies of our book and we filled up the suitcase with books and we sold out. We didn't have enough books, like couples were still going up. There was like, I ain't got no more books. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's like I didn't have enough faith to believe that it would go so quick. And what was interesting is that when we was in America, the flowers that we was receiving was just astronomical. Like wow, made you really feel like when they say in the Jamaican culture, I felt like somebody's picked me. Like wow,
Yeah.
this is incredible. Now I'm saying that to say, in the last let's say 4 to 5 years, some of our focuses have been this. So I've been running a consultancy company called Legacy Consultants. That's really been helping public sector companies have difficult conversations about how they can create a more inclusive environment for black staff, how to more effectively engage with the black community. But when George Floyd happened and the tragedy of him losing his life, many of our clients in our pipeline started to reach out to us and says, Nathan, we need to be able to facilitate a conversation to talk about our policies, our procedures, how we're recruiting diverse talent, how we are creating safe spaces for our staff. And I started to go on a campaign and develop a training course called Navigating the Terrain of Race, which has been keeping me busy since 2020.
Wow.
Only dropped off this year, 2025, because of Trump being re-elected, him saying some inflammatory speeches, saying that we don't need D&I, we don't need equality and diversity. It's a whole load of rubbish. This is from Trump. I'm paraphrasing, but this is what Trump said, which made a lot of companies reverse on their D&I commitments and stuff, which has had a massive detrimental impact to our business. But I'm going to stick a pin in it there. Alongside that, that was a bit of like a side hustle, but a good side hustle. Consistently. So when we was working with you, Gman, when you was doing like hosting, we was we've gone through different phases of first class. So it was first class youth network, then became first class direct, then became first class legacy. And then through a lot of prayer and just looking at the landscape, me and my wife thought it would be a good decision to become a registered charity, which is a CIO. So we have a board of trustees. I'm a board member with trustee members. Um, my wife, I asked to become CEO to help manage operationally. And that charity has been running now. We're in our fifth year of set of accounts. And the other day, going back to why I talked about America, I realized in America that they're very they're very braggadocious and very clear about how they introduce themselves. So when I came back, I said, I'm going to start introducing myself a bit different because Americans kind of like say it with their chest. So how I would say now, how I look when you write and put me in, like if you search, what I can say is that I am Nathan Dennis, a social entrepreneur, multi-award winning social entrepreneur who in the last 5 years has raised in terms of income over 1.5 million pounds. and have employed in one of our, saying last year, or just under a year ago, grew the organization to 14 staff on payroll. So that's what myself and my wife has done through the grace of God. Now I say that to give context because I've realized that when you're British, sometimes you can be conservative about your achievements and your accolades.
Yep.
So I'm pleased to say to you that some of the awards, one of the awards I would like to say is the Black Talent Awards. Now you see a lot of awards out there, but what was interesting about Black Talent is that we got nominated by someone, and then when we got shortlisted, we had to go for an interview. That was like an hour long interrogation about our impact, about our statistics. How are you measuring impact? How do you know you've engaged with so much young people? How do you know you've engaged with so much community? And we talked about our systems and our processes. What are your accounts looking like? And it was very rigorous. And then we went to a judging panel. And through that year of going through these steps, we came out of that awards and was like the winner, like social entrepreneur and voluntary sector charity of the year in 2022. And I'm most proud of that one because of how rigorous the process. It wasn't this. No offense to other awards platforms, but it wasn't this
Don't
voting
even
system.
go there because I'm going to stop. We're going to touch that. Yeah, I know exactly.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
leave it.
But
You've
it
said it.
wasn't the
Yeah,
voting
yeah. It's
system,
not.
yeah. So it wasn't about popularity
No,
and like how many
exactly.
votes you can acquire. It was based on an interview,
Exactly.
a judging panel, and then through the merit of our work. And I'm
You're
really proud
judged
of
by
that.
the works that you do. That's it.
Yeah. And then I say that to say that, even in the income, like when you add up the income, I was looking at it because I've gone from a really hard year, which I'm going to talk about in a bit. And to encourage myself, I had to remind myself what I have done. So I actually used AI and I used a lot of past articles and I'd actually put all our accounts and different things through. Because I want to say, what have I? Because like sometimes when you're in the valley, you can forget who you are
Yep.
because you're just
Agreed.
looking at the pain or the pressure. So I had to look back and I looked at one of the years and I was like, rah, that year we turned over 760,000. I was like, wow, it was a few 100,000 short from turning over a million.
Mhm.
That's quite amazing. Then in one year, like say 400,000, and then when I've added it up across, like say a 3 to 4 year period, it's like over 1.5 million. I said, oh my god, that's what I've done, and I had to remind myself because sometimes we've gone through a lot of fire. This term that you talked about, marmite, like we've got accoladed. I've had some tremendous success, but with that success has come tremendous hate, tremendous bad mind, tremendous. We've gone into rooms, and all of a sudden, people that was like yesterday we was talking to and happy just ignoring us,
Mm-hmm.
being rude to us,
Yep.
issues with our staff. So we grew the staff team to 14, and 80% of those staff are full time. You're providing, you're looking after families now. This is real resources we're managing, and then you're having staff just ism and schisms in the office. You don't
Yep.
even realize.
Of course.
And then one of the things that happened, G, like, and this is what's interesting about life. So me and Sabrina have been married, as I said, 19 years. So when we got married, our honeymoon was Barbados. That was gifted to us through my dad's relationship by Tony Seeley,
Yep.
who
Great. Another
gifted that
great
as a
man.
present
Another
to us.
great man. Yep.
He gifted that as a gift to us for our honeymoon. We stayed in his house. First time in Barbados, an amazing country. Now, we've gone through ups and downs, but ups and downs in terms of like not being able to travel. But 15 years now, we're getting to our 15th year wedding anniversary, and we've done abroad with the children, but we've never done anything because the children wasn't old enough.
Mhm.
And having 4 children, it's not everybody that wants to look after 4 children. So it took us 15 years later to be able to go on our just couple trip alone. Is that making sense?
Yep. Totally.
Now,
100%.
but imagine this. I've posted up like we're on catamaran. We live in like you know how Barbados looks. It's the most beautiful beaches, blue sea. Had an amazing time, and out of that joy, I just posted certain things: jet ski,
And
snorkeling with
you're
the
not doing
turtles,
it to boast. You're doing it to share. These are
out
the
of joy.
blessings that I have, and I'm choosing to share it with you. Not saying, look what I've got, and you haven't got it. I get that.
But G man, once we returned back to the office after that trip,
Hmm.
all of a sudden the spirit and the energy had shifted, and it didn't matter what I tried to do, and all of a sudden we're getting emails.
Hmm.
Can I have a pay rise? Can I have this? Defiance, difficulties. And that was that was almost like the beginning of just like a spiral of things kind of like
Yeah,
just
happen.
not working out, where we got to the point where we've lost contracts, we've lost opportunities. And like this year has been so difficult because like we got to March, I'm looking at the accounts, looking at the landscape. Obviously there's been a change of government, and we've had to make like 5 staff redundant, which is very painful for me and my wife.
Can you see that? Can you see how
Yeah,
blue?
yeah.
Can you see that blue water?
Yes.
That's Barbados,
Beautiful place, isn't it?
and that was just 3 months ago. So I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah. It's like one of the few places that actually looks like the travel brochure when you're there with your own physical eyes. It's like, how beautiful can a place be?
I didn't mean to interject the story where you are with the office staff, but I just want to say one thing just on that. Can you touch Barbados? And I am Jamaican by heritage, by birthright, should say, yeah.
Hmm.
But I would settle in Barbados in the blink of an eye. I know that upsets a lot of people, but to the Barbados ministry, if you're listening here, I'm gonna say, yeah, you hear what I'm saying, right? Yeah, because
That prime
I,
minister,
yeah, I love the place.
do you listen to the prime minister and see what she's doing? She's not playing games, man.
No, they're not ramping out there, and it's a beautiful place. But I just want to say, when you say Barbados, and I understand you want to share your blessings. Yes, why not? If it's the
Yeah.
life you are living, and
Why hide it?
why, listen, I've got just remember you're on the office with the staff switch for your moment, right?
No
I have a
problem.
great saying. My life is private, but it's not a secret.
I like that.
Yeah, my life is
Hmm.
private, but it's not a secret.
Amen.
And I
I
see
like
where
that.
you're at. So
Hmm.
let's get back to the storyline. So you got back, and the dynamic shifted in your office. People were
Yeah,
looking
things
at
are.
you, thinking, you know what?
Yeah, this is not
If you're
different. You
jet
gotta put.
skiing, I want more money.
Yeah.
Yeah, Satan
So that
slide
started to
in.
happen, and then a lot of things have started to happen that I was just like, we started to win awards, and then that raised our profile, and then it just felt like the hate was just a lot, man. And like just the disrespect, and then people are like purposely trying to sabotage or put your name out there in a particular way. So that was very difficult for us. And then we got to the point where now, like this year, we made like 5 staff redundant in March, and that was a hard time, man. Cause I was like, oh my god, what is going on? So like, even though we've had those great successes, we've had some great challenges in that.
You will
And I
do.
guess when I seen this invitation come out, I said, you know what? I don't want to come on here and not be authentic in terms of the season
Yep.
that I find myself in. Like it's very different, but I really had to dig deep, and the thought that came to me is like it's been the refiner's fire, where like I felt like God has like really refined me through the fire of challenge. And it's funny because I was speaking to Sabrina about this, and I says, Bab, it's a funny how so many things have burnt away from our life. So we're not doing as much as we used to do. But it says, what are the things that are still standing and actually are more brighter than before? Number one, what's brighter, G, is my relationship with God. Like, is so powerful because sometimes when you have success, you can get lost in the source and forget the source.
Hmm.
And I felt like that could have potentially definitely happened with me. Like things are flowing, getting lost in the source, still reverencing God, but not at the depths, not in the deep level. So I felt like through this season, it's helped me to really get closer to God, sit in my prayer time, in my devotional time, And then what's been powerful is that my marriage has just even proved even better. Like me and Sabrina even closer, and we started pausing, reflecting on this, and we thought, wow, it's like if you could imagine like a refiner's fire. They said that the goldsmiths would use fire to refine the gold, burn off any defects. And I feel like that's what I've been through, like a literal fire this year. And it's like we're in the 10th month of the year. And it's only now I can see almost like a restoration period starting to happen.
Yeah.
Things like this, all of a sudden, it's like I'm getting invitations again, like yourself,
Yeah.
different platforms. Are like, oh, I want to hear from you. I'm like, wow, God, this is interesting. And it's just interesting that it's like, yeah, it feels like restoration's happening, but I feel like I'm being restored for a different sound and a different message to be very clear about who whose I am and what I'm about, and that's ultimately God.
That story there brings to mind a sentiment, and it says, "The strongest steel is forged in the hottest of flames."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not
100%.
it's not just your regular fire. That
Mm-hmm.
steel has to go through near on sun level heat, and
Mm-hmm.
when it gets past its malleable state, it then begins to harden. But if you
Yes,
pull it out before, it's
it
tough,
ruins the
but it
process.
ain't hard. So
Yeah,
listening to your story now, the steel you and your wife has forged, no man can rend asunder with that.
that's good.
That's unbreakable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love that.
And I think having a blessed partner behind you, driving you, wiping your tears, when you're
Mm-hmm.
sick, wiping your nose, yeah,
Yeah.
those elements in life are priceless. And I've watched you grow in your marriage. I
Mm-hmm.
know you. I have watched you grow, and I applaud you. And the even the book you say you've written, tell me where I can get a copy. I would buy it digitally anyway, just to support the cause. And I think
Yeah.
you and your wife, as I would say, not you're no longer a young couple in Birmingham. You're old now, no old, right? Yeah, but you're seasoned.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your intestinal fortitude for each other has set so much precedent in the world of marriage amongst young people. I have watched people gone, look at you guys, goes, we want that. We
Yeah.
want that.
Definitely.
And you must
That
have
is.
seen people marry. Not it sounds bad. They haven't married because of you. They're married because of you. Does that make sense?
Yeah. You make it possible in
Yeah,
terms of like
exactly.
you're
Achievable.
modeling that marriage is possible, it is attainable, and it is doable, and it's fun. Like sometimes I just think there's just miss a misrepresentation, misnarrative about marriage, and that's sometimes a frustration of us. Like that's exactly what I've just done a thing over the weekend, talking like an interview for a podcast. Me and my wife, talking about what are some of the misconceptions of marriage, and that's going to come out soon. But yeah, it's just yeah, it like marriage can be fun because marriage is how you design it. It's life by design,
Yep.
really. But yeah, I do wanted to speak to that if there's a listener who listens to this, that I want you to know that you're not alone. Because the problem with social media and media is that obviously everyone's just showing the good times. And sometimes you're not understanding that behind any person that you're inspired by or motivated by, there's a story, there's a fire that they've gone through. And I want you to just know that you're not alone in that fire. That you will, almost like the phoenix, will rise again, and you just have to spend that time with yourself. I would always recommend have a pen and a journal and pray and just like seek direction and guidance for what it is you need to do. So yeah, that's just a little encouragement to someone that might be listening, and that's why I want to just be vulnerable because I am very cognizant of the fact that for some people they may see the success or see stuff, but not understand that behind every single picture or success story or award, there's been many no's, there's been many disappointments, there's been many sleepless nights, And as you rightly said earlier, it's been many tears, many
Of
tears.
course. And you know what? I use that tear analogy. You probably remember. It's no secret. I lost my big brother a couple of years back. They're 2 years and much
Mr.
change. Yeah,
C.
yeah. And you know him well, right? Your father knows him well. They've stood side by side and defended many a venue, right? And one of the hardest things I would say in that journey for myself, which was the journey of tears, which I'm going to talk about, is when the doctor said to me, right, you're going to have to make the decision and give us the green light to turn off his life support. And that's my big brother, my protector. And I went, okay. Yeah. And then I went to stand by his bedside and I watched my brother expire. I literally watched him blow his last breath. And would you believe, 10 days later, I was on stage. On stage. And they goes, how? Look at you hogging up the stage and doing your thing. I said, you don't know what I gone through. Yeah? You don't know what strength I draw on to get here today. I do festivals. You've seen me in front of thousands. But people
Yeah.
don't know that tearful journey it takes to get to certain plateaus in life. They make assumption. They'll judge you by the car you drive, by the audience you command, by the job you do, by the 2 jobs you do, by how you live, how you walk, how you talk. But people have to understand it's a fire you have to burn through to get those blessings and achievements. So when you said the tears, I understand that journey. I sit here now missing my brother, but I can have somehow I pay homage to my parents, my brother, doing what I do here. Because this is my talent.
I've got a question for you.
Go for it.
So I'm not saying it's your heyday, but I do feel like, how do you deal with the transition from the popular breakfast show?
Do you know what? That's a very good question. Because as you know, when I was doing the breakfast show in the morning, that was it. That was the standard bearer for Birmingham, full stop. Yeah? But I'm a great believer in a couple of things. As we know, there is a story behind the implosion of New Star Radio. But New Star Radio wasn't me. I was part of it, but it wasn't me because I'd started on radio aged 18. Yeah. That is 42 years ago. Yeah. When I was on radio at 42 years ago, radio weren't on. Yeah. There was a handful of people, and I will say shout to Jacob, shout to Ranking Jack at Rising Star. There was about 5 guys at the time. Yeah. So I'd built my legacy from age 18, paying homage to my mentor, Mr. Des Mitchell, because he taught me my game, and I carried on. And then when New Style imploded, I'll be human. Wow, it took me back because I dedicated 7 years of my life getting up at 7 o'clock every morning, doing the breakfast show, entertaining, being the puppet on the string for everybody, doing my thing. And then you know what? What the hardest part of that was? When New Star Radio imploded, and I'm saying imploded, the next body imploded because it's from the inside. And I say it publicly too. I'm in a business, can't do me nothing. Right, yeah? It took me back. Because when you've dedicated time and effort, myself, Martin Blissett, Dennis, David, we put a lot of time into it with Barbara and the whole team. And it was taken away through bad mind. It took me back. I thought, I'll never go on air radio again. I'll finish. I gave it my best shot. And when my community couldn't rise with me, nothing. And I'm going to tell you this story.
What was your highest viewing figures them days?
We were
Listening?
we were told at one time by, I think it was either Capital Extra or no, it wasn't Capital at the time. It wasn't Buzz FM. It was wasn't Choice. I think Choice had moved to London or one of the other stations. I can't remember the name, so don't quote me. That we need to switch off. because we're taking their listeners. And they had over 1.7 people tuning into a breakfast show in the morning. And we were beating, we were beating that. We were beating that as a community radio station. We were beating that as a community radio station. And I never forget the day when I said to Martin, I've got an idea. I'm going to give away a mini. A mini. It was a toy mini. Only this big. But I did the competition. You know how it was. Ladies and I'm giving away a mini this toy. The phone lines affected BT that morning.
Wow.
Yeah. And that was just from community radio. So, you know, I had that legacy. And again, you know, when it changed, I could have either rolled with the punches and fell to the wayside. But I looked to make a comeback because it's what I love doing, just like how you love doing what you're doing. And you're going to laugh at this. When New Style finished, guess who gave me the reins of another radio station? Tony Seeley.
Wow.
West Bromwich. I can't remember what the radio station called now, West Bromwich. Do you know, it'll lose me. But yeah. So we took my team, Dennis, David, we went over to West Brom, took the reins over there, and just ran that. We ran that for him. Doing the same community thing, building it up. Eventually, we moved the studio to Handsworth on Tony's estate, Alexander Road estate, the business estate Tony Seeley had.
3Bs.
3Bs, yeah. And Tony gave us a unit, antenna. We were broadcasting.
Yeah, I think I went there. I went there.
Yes,
you invited me
yeah,
down.
you remember, yeah, exactly. So
Yeah. I
the
think
legacy-
you actually invited me and Sabrina there.
yeah. So we carried on. You know, we carried on our story, we carried on our legacy. And, you know, as they go, community radio, it doesn't have unlimited funds like your Virgin Radios or your Chrysalis Group or it doesn't have it. And sadly, sometimes when you're a charity or you're a registered CIC or something like that, I call it, and maybe the wrong term, people may hate me for it, but you're always depending on handouts to function.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, when the European funding thing stopped, a lot of people lost their income. Yeah. So, you know, I said to myself, the next time I come back, I want to own it. And it probably never happened. Probably it can still happen. Yeah. But I shared my expertise then with going into schools, colleges, in an education manner, because I'm a qualified media tutor now. Yeah. So I can deliver music, media, broadcasting, technology, and journalism. So I got my qualification with Martin. Thank you very much. And I went into schools like Shenley Green, Handsworth Wood Girls School, Hampstead All, and I did workshops on broadcasting with the young children in the schools.
That's good.
And I developed a program called From Pen to Pounds. And that meant if you want to learn how to write a song and the end product is pounds in your pocket, listen, are you interested? Yes, sir, I'm interested. So who wants to be an MC? Me. I said, okay. So you want to be an MC? Fine. Let's start at the beginning. Write me a lyric. They write me a lyric. I said, right, why did you use that grammar? Is that spelt right? Nah. So let's go into English literature for a moment, yeah? So let's have today's lesson on English literature. Pronouns, yeah? Alphabet, conjunctions. These are 11 to 15-year-olds. Their teacher stood there going, how the heck did you get them involved in English? They were more interested in taking English now because they want to be a rapper. And I said, right, first exercise, go home and draw your contract up that you want to be a famous rapper. Now, there you go. You've got your contracts. I'm going to take 33.3% off your average income every month and pay you back on an average of 10%. You like that? Don't understand it. Let me show you percentages. Yeah?
That's good.
So percentages. So what does that mean, sir? What is 1 times 10? That's 10. But a tenth of 10 is 1. So we're going to learn percentages. So then I did numeracy and literacy through the word of music in workshops and schools.
Brilliant.
And
I love
then
that.
we did the physical side of it. Those are my program. I own those. Yeah. And they can still be delivered today. So from the pen to pounds in your pocket, that was mine. And I did a fair few workshops and I picked up an award from Shenley Green for delivering that as well. So that was good. But that's what I did. But, you know, obviously sometimes, as you know, in life, doing what you do, you're going to need to get a 9 to 5. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's be real about it. Yeah. So I went back
Yeah.
into corporate working sector, which I still remain today, and happy to do that. But my heart is in the community, providing a legacy with the
Yeah.
services that I have had. And I
And this
think
is what I would say, just to jump into that, is in my season where I'm at, I'm using a lot of more wisdom. Not to say I can't do it, because I've been self-employed for like 20 years basically.
forever. Yeah.
And you can get tired in that process. So one of the things I'm actively looking at is new opportunities that can almost like sort out my bread and butter. And then once my bread and butter is sorted, I can get back creative again. Because sometimes it's so hard to be creative and innovative when you're trying to just make sure that the basics are done. Your gas, electric, rent, mortgage, whatever it is. So that's what I'm really actively looking at. And I see that as a strategy, that if I can find something that suits me, I will do that. And then around that, I'll do the things that's deep, deep, deep in my heart.
Speaking of which, you touched on a subject matter there. I saw, I would say, I call it a promo of your skill set online the other day,
Hmm.
actively looking for um,
Opportunities.
opportunities or projects that could
Yeah.
best benefit from your skill set. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're not job seeking. You're looking for projects that can best benefit
Yeah. So
from the
I
skill
call it
set
more.
that you provide. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's more about opportunities.
Yeah.
So currently looking at board appointments to be a non-executive director.
Hmm.
But I've got a lot of strategy, great at communication, and it's about having that kind of like challenge. So I've applied myself to a few things that are coming up, which I'm looking forward to. Fingers crossed. By the time we talk back again,
You're
some of
coming
these
back.
things
You know
will,
you're coming back. That's without the
yeah,
shadow of a
will come
doubt. Yeah.
online. But like I do encourage people to connect themselves to opportunities. So one of the things I was speaking about the other day, obviously we're in the month of Black History Month,
Yeah.
which is rooted in a theme around standing firm in power and pride. Yeah.
Yep.
Now, one of the things I was talking about recently, the last speaking engagement I done was within a faith setting, and I was trying to communicate some of the challenges that our African and Caribbean community face. And one of the three words that I used was, from my lens, is actual true access to opportunity and resources, true quality of representation, and I'll explain that in a moment, and allyship. And I was talking about my experience of like applying to be a committee member for the Legacy and Benefits Committee of the Commonwealth Games. And the reason why I did that, because one of the things that was very loud to me in my spirit, in my periphery, was that there was this massive multi-million pound project happening within the Peribar area that when I did the research was worth something like, or gone to spend 749 million pounds. And then when you look at the history of the Commonwealth, and we are, as people from the Caribbean, namely Jamaica and other countries, we should be beneficiaries of the fact of our heritage
One
and our connection to the Commonwealth.
hundred percent. 100%.
Yeah. So what I did was I actively applied and seek to be at the table because I wanted to understand what was going on. I looked at the senior leadership team, the CEO, the executive team, and it was all white individuals mainly that were parachuted in from out of town. So I applied and I got denied the first time. And then I sent a stink email and letter of complaint, like, why have I been denied? Blah, 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 blah. And then the second time I got through and I started to sit on around the table with people with like Sir this and MB this and OB this. And what I was able to do at that table was ensure and fight for benefits from the games to go back to our community directly to African and Caribbean people and make sure that resources went and that our community knew about things. So one of the projects I was proud to be a part of with the Legacy Centre of Excellence was workshops around upskilling local businesses about understanding how to tender and procure for contracts,
That's
and
very
understanding where
essential.
to
Very
go,
essential.
and understand how to procure for big contracts, and understand what's going on. So, for instance, like at the time during the workshop, we was had loads of black businesses coming in, and we was talking about a contract example was called noise reduction contracts, and everyone was like, noise reduction, what's that? And there's multiples of millions of pounds with high speed rail contracts available to, if you could prove that you could reduce noise. When you actually look at the contracts, G-Man,
Mm.
what it was is that they was almost looking for a landscaper and gardening company who could be responsible for planting all along high speed rail new trees and plant existing trees and new trees to build like a
A
barrier,
sound barrier to buffet the
sound
sound.
barrier
Yeah.
for when it's rain.
Yeah.
And that's what it was, is an agricultural contract.
Mm.
Now we brought that as an example into the workshop
Mm.
with our black business colleagues to say that there is significant money out there in different sectors, but you need to be at the table to understand and learn and do research, because
Yeah.
obviously we're kind of connected to the kind of same old business
Mm.
industries, food, hair, fashion type of thing.
Security.
Yeah, security.
Yep.
Now, going back to the Legacy and Benefits Committee, I had a few examples where my job after the committee was to sit on a panel called the Inclusive Communities Fund, which
Hmm.
was a great honor to serve on. From the underspend of the games, I had £11 million, G-Man, to give
Wow.
out to the community. Yes,
Good.
£11 million.
Flowers.
But
Flowers.
received applications in the excess of £71 million. So £11 million available,
Wow.
but £71 million of applications came in. So they're short by 60 million. But what was powerful about being at that table and being at the panel
Hmm.
was for some of the African and Caribbean organizations that may not have written their application in the most elegant ways,
Hmm.
I was able to advocate for them at the table and say, actually, before we say no to this organization,
Yeah.
let's just check out their Instagram. So there was a dance company, as an example, I won't say their name,
Yeah.
and they was applying for a grant of say 50k
Okay.
plus to renovate their studio. Now the panel was going to say we're not going to permit that 50k
Mm-mm.
because they didn't like how it was written. They're saying, oh, it just how do we know they really need to change the sinks and the bathrooms and the mirrors and the dance floor mats and stuff? And
Wow.
I says, sorry, I'm not accepting this. I know this organization, conflict of interest.
I'm with you. Yeah.
I'm tabling that to say that I know them. But let's just quickly go on their Instagram, and I forced everyone to stop the meeting and go onto their Instagram because they just had posted pictures of their dance competition
I've
tournament.
just had a question come through, Nathan. Right? Someone just
Yeah,
has messaged me here. That's why I've been not been distracted. I'm reading this. It said,
yeah.
"How did they get in touch with you?" I'm just they're listening, but how? Where did they find you? You know, I know
Email.
it's a sidebar, but get back to your story. But
No, no, it's fine.
how did they
Nathan
find you?
through
Right?
email. So you can do Nathan Dennis official on Instagram,
Yep.
or Nathan Dennis on LinkedIn, or Nathan at fclegacy.co.uk. So that's F for Freddy, C for Charlie, legacy.co.uk. Now just
What,
finish off this
carry on.
story, G.
Yeah, go for it, my
I'm
friend.
at
Go
the
for it.
panel. We're
Yeah.
saying no to 50 plus £1,000 to a black led organization because the application wasn't written the best. And I interrupted the meeting and says, no, go on their Instagram, and we typed in the company's name, and they just posted these big group pictures of all their dancers and
Wow.
a few little reels of like their work. And the panel was like, oh my God, they're amazing. And I says, yeah. And I says, you see, inclusion, the word inclusion, to be really
Mm-hmm.
included into the table.
Yeah.
If you keep on using the same metrics and measuring stick to compare how our organization is effective, organizations like this I'm representing will always be left out of
One
the
hundred
decision
percent.
because you're judging them through writing. Writing is not the only way to communicate. Look at their Instagram page, and they was like, "Oh my God, it's amazing!" And it's things like that that I'm proud of, where I'm having significant influence and making sure resources go to our community. it's not always easy because I'm the person that's the disruptor. I'm the person that's not doing groupthink. When everyone's like looking at application thinks it's okay, I'm the person that's like coming from a community lens. I'm like, no, that's foolishness. I'm gonna say, and these are some of the things I want to do more of, where I can advocate and help push forth strategy.
That niche you've just highlighted, I can literally count 7 people I've spoken to in the last 2 months would benefit from that guidance that you've just highlighted. Because sometimes there's an old saying that, every dog will have his day, but the man that can sculpture the best gold chain probably can't write or read or put an application form to get the gold, but give him the works, he'll create you a marvelous creation. So
Yeah,
sometimes filling in forms and application forms and bid writing, it's not everybody's skill set. So we, we,
G-Man,
we need we need that team of professionals.
we do, but what we
Not
need though,
This is
G-Man, you know what
important.
we need,
I'll tell you
G-Man.
why. It's important. We need them. We may have them, but are they accessible? Because as you know, we
G-Man, what
have.
I would say from my
I
lens,
know you self, but I'm gonna say this right. I gotta say this because you'll know where I'm coming from. There are a lot of so-called, and I'm gonna say it with my chest, big up my chest. Yeah, so-called community champions here for the community, here to involve the. You can't get to them; they're
this is what I'll
inaccessible.
say, G-Man. Let me say this. What we have to find, remember going back to what we said about your gift,
Yeah.
edutainment, edutainment.
Yep.
You taught me this. When I designed the programs for the first struggle events we was doing,
Yep.
it says then give them a bit of entertainment, then
Yep.
give them the
I remember
education.
that.
Do entertainment and then education.
Yeah.
That's always been our
Yeah.
strategy. Edutainment.
Yep. 100%.
What we have to find a way of is making, instead of dancehall ramming out or the brunches now where it shifted to, we need to make the business seminars and the master classes and the workshops sell out like roadblock. Because the true thing is, outside of my faith and God and what I believe as is through Christ that transformation can happen. The other second biggest thing is education and information that can bring forth transformation. And I want to give you this, yeah. Legacy Center of Excellence, Keith, CEO there, has got a business conference on this weekend. And I'm saying people from our community need to be, if you're in the Birmingham region, I know this is
Yeah.
global, need to invest and buy a ticket and go to events like that and
Come on.
be humble.
100%.
Humble yourself, go with a notebook and take notes because we done that course. That course was free. We're giving jewels, gems, showing people where the contracts are being hosted, how you can go for them. But the problem is that because it's not like the latest sound system or the in thing, people are not going to them because it's like, oh, it's boring. But if we can increase our capacity to learn and take information, I'm telling you, it will bring forth, like, truly bring forth transformation.
I'm going to invite you back. Just before I'm going to try and get it in December, if not after Christmas first. I'm doing a panel online right here,
Hmm.
and the influence of modern day music to our young people, right?
Hmm.
And you touched on something that may not be the title, but that is the ethos of it,
Hmm.
because I don't get how you will you will pay a fortune for a ticket for an
Hmm.
artist to tell you all about your anatomy. You're going to sing and wave your phone in the air to him at 60,
Hmm.
£70 a ticket, but you won't spend £15 to a business development event.
Hmm.
Yeah? The
And this is
lyrics, the
and this
lyrics
and this
that
is
I've heard I saw some on Snapbook and Face Chat the other day, right? And I kid you not, when I heard what the artist was singing and
foolishness.
the young women were actually reciting it.
This is what I'm saying. We're being dumbed down. I want to say this because I'm conscious of time.
Yeah.
I want to say this thing that helped me transform my business life
I'm going to
and my
give
own
you
life.
2 minutes. Go for it.
Yeah. This is through going on to a leadership development
Yep.
course.
Go for it.
And the facilitator says, Nathan, but to the class, if you can work out the type of people that buy a Rolex, you'll never be short of money. And I was like, what do you mean? He says, people who buy a Rolex are not buying a Rolex for time, to tell the time. It's a feeling that they're buying. If you can tap into that feeling, you can charge whatever you want to charge. And I remember a painter being in the place, and he stood up in the course. He was one of the guest lecturers, and he talked about how he used to sell his paintings in the market in Winsbury. That same painting, he hasn't done nothing different, for like £50 in the market, and then he'll price it at 50, but he'll get bargained down to 30.
Mm-hmm.
He now has that same painting, because he's changed his location, in an art gallery that's like minimum, like hypothetically, 2.5 grand.
Mm-hmm.
No difference. And he talks about, once he understood the psychology of people, he realized that he could change his art, like who he's sending his art to. So it's the same art, but the location and understanding the type of people. And they ended that session talking about, if you understand the psychology of the individual that buys a Rolex, they're not buying the Rolex to tell the time. And that piece of information
I like. Do you
helps
know
them
what? I'm going
transform
to
their
take that,
business.
and I'm going to tell you why that. It's. Do you have you heard the analogy of the bottle of water?
Go on.
I can't recite. I'm going to try, but you, a man of your intelligence, will get it. They say, if you go to, I'm not going to brand a local supermarket.
The desert.
No, not even that one. Hold on. A
Go on.
small bottle of water, plastic bottle. Yeah, you buy a 6-pack for £5. Yeah, you buy one bottle, will cost you say 58p. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You go into the nightclub, you buy the same bottle, it'll cost you £4.
Yeah.
When you go on the aircraft and you're
Yes.
flying and you're buying the
Yes.
same bottle, it's now £7.50.
Yeah.
The bottle is exactly the same,
Mm-hmm.
but the only thing that's different is its location,
Yeah.
which
And
altered its worth.
yeah, and that's a powerful one.
And once
And
you
then to add
understand,
to
I'm
that
going to
one, they
send it
talk
to you.
about,
I'm going to send
yeah,
that to you.
and they also add to that same
Yeah.
analogy is that same bottle of water. If you was in the Sahara Desert and you had not had a drink for 3 days, and I had that same bottle of water, how much money would you be willing to give me?
Your life.
Exactly. And it's about understanding the psychology.
And you know, that water is knowledge. Yeah.
Yes.
And this is going to go back. I know we're going to time out, but we're going to do the part 2 is coming in January. You have to do it, right? Knowledge. Yeah. So if, let's just say for argument's sake, there's a workshop. Nathan's going to do a workshop from his perspective. I'm going to do a workshop from my perspective. And we say
Yeah.
the tickets are £20. They're
Yeah.
going to argue because they've not been in that
100%.
mental drought. But
Yeah.
once you get into that mental drought, how much will they buy into that water?
That's what I'm saying. G, thank you for having me, man.
Listen,
If anyone's
really,
interested in the
you know
book
what?
that I mentioned with my wife,
Yeah.
visit our website, nathanandsabrinadennis.com. So that's www.nathanandsabrina.com. If you want to directly connect with me, my email address is nathan@fclegacy.co.uk. LinkedIn, Nathan Dennis. Instagram, Nathan Dennis Official.
Can I ask you a favor? Yeah.
No problem.
I would like my audience to have an update with you in 2026. Can we do that?
No problem.
Because
No, okay.
I don't even think we scratched a quarter. Because I had a
No,
story. I was going to say I'm going to scratch this. I know we're timing out, but when you bought your first company, Zafira, see, your first class wagon, the Batmobile, yeah.
Yeah, we bought two at the same
I
time.
remember. So listen, I just want to say, it was a conversation needed to be had. You're a blessed individual, and I so appreciate you taking time out just to talk to me. We're both in our own locations, and I hope even in the last hour, people understand the man behind the mind. That's my philosophy, the man behind the mind.
I love that.
Yeah, the man behind the mind. This is my, it's a little ditty that I wrote because people don't say, not the man behind the music, the man behind the mind. And I shut up for a good while because I wanted people to understand your journey. I guess what? They'll get it.
Yeah, man.
Nathan
Thank you,
Dennis.
Gman.
I couldn't even, if you look at the bottom, I couldn't even think of a title to give up. Author, leader, champion, minister. We didn't even listen. We can go
You
for
haven't
miles.
touched about more ordination.
Yo, part two. And I want
Yeah,
Sabrina sat beside you.
no problem. We'll do that.
My brother, listen, it's been a pleasure having you. Stay blessed, and we'll talk again probably before the week is out because I think that we got a project. We touched on something that smelled like a project today.
Okay, cool.
Yeah?
I'm there.
God bless you.
God
Listen,
bless.
have a great one, Nathan. Thank you.
Yeah.